Hello, and welcome to the 5 Core Life podcast with Will Moore, founder of More Momentum. On today's episode, host Will Moore sits down with Erik Young, the flexible dieting coach around caloric baselining. Erik discusses how to live the 80-20 lifestyle, where you can still enjoy the fun foods, how to find your baseline caloric intake and burn, as well as how you can adjust that moving forward and, quote, reverse dieting. Go ahead in the comments before we get into the episode, share what you think caloric baselining is, or if you've tried it, let us know how it went. And if you're not on YouTube, then go to your favorite social media platform at More Momentum and reach out to us and tell us what you think caloric baselining is. Of course, wherever you're listening or watching, please go ahead and pound that subscribe button so you get notified when new episodes air every week. Are you ready to fire on all cylinders? If so, let's go. Everyone has the same 5 core areas of their life that ultimately determine how happy they'll be. Unfortunately, most of us have developed failure habits in each, and it's Will Moore's mission to help replace those with success habits to maximize momentum. After exiting his business for a combined 9-figure sum, Will learned it's not just about becoming an entrepreneur of your career, but an entrepreneur of the most important business you'll ever run, your life. And to crush it in your life requires firing on all cylinders in your 5 cores by continually taking action, building habits, and maintaining balance in each.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for being here. So Erik Young of The Body Shop, nutritional coaching, personal training extraordinaire. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, what it is you do, what you help people with, and this all ties into obviously the physical health core, which is so huge because it ties to the mind, the body, they're connected. You got to make sure you're building that positive momentum. So why don't you tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, mind, body, soul, man. I'm all about that for sure. So what I do is I put meal plans together based off of what clients want. So I try to get away from just having clients eat clean or eat healthy. Obviously, we take health as a factor. So we do 80% whole food and then 20% fun food. So we basically put together meal plans based off of what clients want and what they like. And then we build that to their wants and needs. So it's specifically just tailored to them so they just don't feel restricted. I think that's the biggest part of what I do is just having clients not feel restricted, because when you feel restricted and someone gives you a plan that's just, all chicken and veggies and just super like bland and boring, then you're not going to want to stick to that. And that's not sustainable. So so just giving people these plans that are sustainable is really what this is about. So yeah.
Love that. So yeah, I mean, to me, I was just talking before you got on. It's funny. I actually used 80 to 80. I said, somebody asked me what my eating routine was. And I said 80 to 85% stuff that's, I know I should be eating, but still to reduce the friction, I've picked things that taste good to me, even though they're good for you. Right. And at first there's always that, like your body going, well, this is healthy. This isn't the same as a Dorito. But then it's like, okay, for me, it's like mixed nuts or berries or, stuff that still tastes really sweet and good. But maybe not quite as good as that ice cream. But then over time, you start to adapt to that and your body starts liking that even more than the bad stuff, because not only does it taste just as good, but it's doing good for you. And so, I love that your plan incorporates kind of that philosophy of, don't just try to say, here, this is what you need to eat, because people are going to resist that, but more, okay, what do you personally like to eat? What are the things that you love? Let's build a plan around that.
Yeah. And then the other aspect of it is, in order to lose weight, you have to be in a caloric deficit. And usually that's about a 500 calorie deficit. So a lot of people think they can just eat healthy and eat clean and be able to see changes and lose weight. And maybe they will right off of the bat. But once their body adapts to that, that becomes their new maintenance. So, I mean, you hear people all the time say, or females specifically, like, I'm eating 1,200 calories. I'm not losing weight. I bust my ass at the gym and I don't see changes. And that's usually why. It's just, you have to be in that deficit. And what people don't understand is that once your body adapts to what you're doing, that becomes your maintenance. So you're no longer in that deficit, and then you're not seeing changes in your physique because you're just eating that 1,200 calories to maintain. So there's definitely a lot that goes into this when I'm putting plans together based off of, you have to see how much food people are eating before. You can't just give them a meal plan based off of where you think they should be at. Like, you need to know how they eat, if they're eating high carbs, low carbs, and then you kind of know where to start them at and really just put the plans together so they can enjoy what they're eating.
Nice. So let me ask you this. Is there a way to actually determine kind of how many calories on their own that they're burning, so that like you can incorporate that in, sort of like you say, okay, well, this is what you're eating and this is how many calories you're burning, this is how many you're eating, and so we're going to build it around that? Or is it impossible to know exactly how many calories that they're burning each day?
I mean, having like a Fitbit or Apple Watch that will tell you, but really the thing that people don't understand is, like food, your body adapts to the amount of food you're eating. Your body also adapts to the amount of activity that you currently do. So if you're the person that eats 1,800 calories a day and you work out 5 days a week and that's what you normally do, then the working out aspect of that is pretty much irrelevant to me. I'm not even gonna, I'll touch on that, but I'm not gonna manipulate anything they're doing activity wise, because their body's already used to them working out 5 days a week. So What I'm doing is I'm just putting the plans together based off of what their current caloric maintenance is. And then I'm either adding food or taking food away, depending on what their maintenance is at. So normally, like, they would do like a 3-day journal of food, and then I would put together and see how many calories they're eating, what their proteins, carbs, and fats are. And then from there, that's what I would use to put their plans together, not specifically taking their activity into account, because they've already been doing that for, months on end. They always work out 5 days a week. So that's kind of irrelevant to what I'm trying to do if they're just trying to drop body fat.
Got it.
Yeah.
So it's all very specific to the individuals, which makes sense. And I think you definitely have more success that way. But for the people that are listening, for people that might not, be going specifically to you to get this, exact treatment for it, is there, just in general, some tips and some things to live by and follow that they can help kind of improve their journey as they move forward?
For sure. I like what you said about 85% is what you stick to. So I do 80% whole food, 20% fun food. I always like to make sure that every client has in some type of healthy fats each day, a full serving of healthy fats. So that would be like an ounce of nuts, 4 ounces of avocado, or 2 tablespoons of peanut butter. I always make sure every plan has that, and then 1 fruit a day as well. Those are kind of the guide that I live by here when I'm making these plans. But yeah, for just the everyday person, your best bet is just to try to find out how much food you're currently eating. Because if you don't know what your maintenance calories is, then you're pretty much just shooting in the dark. So I like to use MyFitnessPal or use some type of macro or calorie tracking app where you would just journal your food for like 3 or 4 days. And then once you have a baseline, that tells you what your maintenance calories are at. And then if you want to try to lose body fat, then that means you need to eat less than what your maintenance calories are at. Usually it's around 500. So if a typical person, a typical female puts their food in on MyFitnessPal for 3 days, let's say they average 1,700 calories. If they're looking to lose body fat, then that means they would need to eat 500 calories less than what that 1,700 calories. So they would need to eat 1,200 in order to see changes with their physique and in order to see that body fat come off.
Got it. Okay. And do you primarily focus on reduction in body fat, or do you also work on building body mass, like lean mass?
Yeah, there's a lot of different opinions on this. You can talk to 10 different coaches. They'll tell you 10 different things. But in my experience, it's very hard to build muscle and lose fat at the same time. Like when you're trying to build muscle, you should be in a caloric surplus, which means you should be eating more than what your body's used to. So when you're in that surplus, it makes it hard to lose weight or lose body fat because you're feeding yourself more food than what your body is used to. So usually when I do this, it's more along the lines of, are we trying to build mass? And if we are, let's add calories and let's consistently add calories over a period of time. Or if they're just trying to lose body fat, then let's reduce calories for, 4 to 6 weeks. And then from there, depending where they're at, if we can take away more food, we will. If not, then we need to start adding food back in, because we can only take them so low in food, obviously.
Right.
Yeah.
So let me address that. When you say, I understand in terms of like, it's hard to lose weight and gain body mass at the same, or muscle at the same time. However, when I think back to when I used to work out like religiously, and I was eating anything in sight, and the muscle, but I was going to the gym and doing heavy workouts every day. But the fat was still coming off. But because I was burning so many calories lifting, and was building the muscles were growing and the fat was staying lean. Obviously, I think part of that is when you're younger, it's easier for that. What is your take on that?
Yeah, I think for sure. For men, we can do that, but it really just depends on the body type, honestly. Everybody's body's made up differently. It's all the same, but you have that, either you're an endomorph or ectomorph, and you have that body type. Some people can just do that. I have clients that put on muscle and lose body fat at the same time, but just in my opinion, that's not the normal. That's not the norm, but obviously when we're younger, our metabolism's good. When we're in that, 18 to 25 range, you're definitely more, you're more to see that happen when you're younger. But just as we're getting older, it becomes a lot harder to put on that muscle and lose body fat at the same time. But just, again, it kind of just comes down to, it's all very situational and depends on the person. Some people do see that. And even now I see people that are in their mid 30s that are still putting on muscle and burning fat, but it's very few and far between. You definitely shouldn't expect that, in my opinion.
Got it. Yeah, no, that makes sense. So, for somebody that, for your average person, obviously it's different for men and women. Men are going to burn more calories than women. And do you actually, in terms of that workout regimen and what they're eating, does that change? Like you had the 80 to 20%. Is that the same for men and women or across the board? Or is it like men, you do it one way, women, you do it a different way?
The way that I put the plans together are different because men need more protein for sure. So that aspect of it's different, but the 80%, 20% whole food to fun foods, that's just the same across the board. Like for me, it's not about the food. Food is food. And again, you can talk to a lot of different people. They'll tell you different things, but I try to live by the sustainability aspect and really, like, what good is it to lose 20 pounds if you're, just going to gain it back because you're eating, very restricted. And that's why I really just try to stick to the 80% whole food, 20% fun food. You don't want people to feel bad after eating some sweets or eating treats and things like that. You should just enjoy that. And it's just part of life. Everything we do revolves around food. Like if it's social events or meetings or whatever, like there's going to be food there and there's probably going to be some treats. So like my whole goal in this is just to try to get people in a better spot with food so they don't look at food as good or bad. And, if they want to have those pancakes for breakfast, they can, but they need to know that they need to eat less carbs later in the day to make up for those carbs and the pancakes they had for breakfast. It's just all about balance, man. Just trying to balance everything out with food.
Yeah, well, that answers BGS as what type of foods are best to eat in the morning. So, right. It all depends. Obviously there's the ideal foods to eat. Like you said, that 80% and the whole foods. And I want to talk about those types of foods in a second. But then, as you said, just to this point, if you really want to have that 20% be in the morning, then you can eat the pancakes, the bacon or whatever. But then you need to make sure that you stay on track and eat that good 80% the rest of the day and are exercising. Yeah.
Yep. And then so you're balancing out. If you have those carbs for breakfast where you're having the pancakes with the syrup, then we know that's going to be, 80 to 100 carbs. So if your carb goal is only 150 for the day, that means you need to cut back your carbs later in the day. So, it's not ideal because then you're just eating protein and veggies, but at least you got to have your pancakes in the morning and still be on track.
Yeah. Well, and another, like you were saying, everybody's different. So what would you say to somebody who is a big dinner eater? That's me. Like I eat very small breakfasts. It's just, I should say my nature is to, I force myself and I've gotten in the habit switching that a bit. But if left to my own devices, I kind of, and my dad was this way, so it's a genetic thing, I think. I'm not a huge lunch varies, but dinner, it's like I'm all in. But would you say that, in general, you don't want to put that 20%, the bad stuff, at dinner because it's later in the day and you're not going to burn as many calories the rest? Or is that okay to do?
No, it's totally fine to do because you're still burning calories all day. So, I mean, if you're, even if you're not active, you still have a metabolic rate where you're burning calories at rest. So it doesn't matter if you eat more of your food later at night, even if it's like the 20%, it doesn't matter if you eat that in the morning or the night, you're still burning calories during the day. You're still burning calories as you sleep. So really it all ends up evening out for the day, regardless, just based off of how many calories you're burning total for the day. I have a lot of clients who do intermittent fasting and they enjoy that. It works well for their schedule, or they just, like you, kind of just light eaters during the day and they want to eat more at night. So same with that. It doesn't matter. Even if you're eating the majority of your food in that, from 2 to 8, it doesn't matter that you're doing that because you're still burning those calories at night. When you're sleeping, you're still burning the calories during the day. So really, in my opinion, I don't think that really has any effect on weight loss at all.
Well, that's good to know. I think that's a myth that a lot of people, you've been told kind of your whole life, like you want to load up on breakfast and eat less and less throughout the day. So that's good to know that your system still works.
Yeah, don't eat carbs at night. That's what they say. I have clients.
You just cut out. You just cut out for a second. Just repeat what you just said.
Sorry about that.
You said don't eat carbs at night is a myth.
Eating carbs at night, not eating them is definitely a misconception. I have the majority of my clients, they want some type of dessert after dinner. They want some type of snack, some type of dessert. Maybe it's chocolate covered almonds. Maybe it's a Skinny Cal ice cream sandwich, whatever that is, as long as they compensate earlier in the day and that's built into their plans, then they can easily have that ice cream sandwich after dinner, or have, that glass of wine or whatever it is that they enjoy. Again, we want to keep this sustainable. So yeah, you can totally do that. There's no, that's definitely a misconception, eating carbs at night, that you can't do that.
Good to know. Good to know. I hope everybody's listening to that.
Yes.
So we have a question here. She's asking, can you go in depth about calorie deficit while breastfeeding, and how do you go about adding calories back in?
Yeah. So I will, for sure. I have a lot of clients that are nursing, and so basically, you don't want to go under 1,800 calories if you're nursing. That's general across the board. What most doctors will tell you is basically 1,800 calories. If you go less than that, then your milk supply is going to drop off. So if you're trying to lose weight and you are nursing, then you have to start off by slowly adding food in for a couple months if you're going to continue nursing. So if you're already eating 1,800 calories, you would add in 80 to 100 calories every week or every other week for a couple months. Then that means your maintenance calories will be higher, around 25 to 2,600. Then you can start pulling that 500 calories back to lose weight while still breastfeeding. But it's just, if you go under 1,800, your milk supply will drastically drop, and that's not going to be effective. So yeah, you have to start off. It's hard because most women can't eat that much food. So just trying to get women to eat more food during the time that they're nursing, it's tough, but you can definitely do it. But you're going to have to get calories up to 25 or 2,600, and then you start pulling food back, and that's how you'll be able to still lose while breastfeeding.
Thank you. Yeah, my wife, so we got a 19-month-old, and she definitely went through that, and she was loving it. She's like, woohoo, because she could, she was just eating anything and everything, and wasn't gaining any weight. But, what I'm always talking about is, and I'm sure you talk about with your clients, it's all about the habits that you get in. So you got to be careful, right? You don't want to just get in that habit of loading up. Like, you got to be aware, like you said, and then you start decreasing that. Like, don't just go all in and then be like, oh, I'm fine. And then all of a sudden, like, you're not breastfeeding, you're not burning those calories, but you're in that habit of just eating the majority of naughty foods, we'll call them. So, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, with nursing, you're burning way more calories. So if you just finished nursing and you're already still eating 23 or 2,400 calories or more, then you definitely have to taper that back, because you're not nursing, you're not burning those extra calories. So if you kept eating the same, you would definitely see an increase in weight for sure.
So here's a question, and then I want to ask you last question about the Whole Foods part. Remind me,
Yeah.
How long from Soul Dead? How long do you do 1,200 calories before your body starts thinking it's maintenance? If I went from 1,800 to 1,200, for example.
Yeah. Regardless, your body is going to adapt. It usually takes 3 to 4 to 5 weeks. It really depends on the person, but normally when I start pulling food back, I do higher calorie days and lower calorie days. I don't just have them go from 1,800 to 1,200. I normally will give them some higher calorie days at 1,800 and then lower calorie days at like 1,300, since that would be a 500 calorie deficit. I would start off doing one higher calorie day and then one low calorie day and just cycle that way for a couple weeks. And then I would go 2 lower calorie days and then one higher calorie day and kind of just slowly just keep adding those lower days. If you go right from 18 to 12 or right from 18 to 13, you're not going to lose as much weight over like the longevity part of that. You'll lose weight right off the bat, but then you're going to plateau quicker. So normally you want to give yourself higher calorie days and then lower calorie days when you're trying to put yourself in that deficit. But in general, if you're at that 1,200 calories and you stop seeing changes, then you have to start adding food back in slowly, because it'll be pretty hard to maintain your physique at 1,200 calories.
Very good. Thank you. Good answer. And then we'll take one more, and then we'll go to the other question that I had. What if you're already living on 1,200 calories from amazingly a day and intermittent fasting and still want to lose weight? Is it safe to drop lower in calories? Definitely not.
If you're doing activity, you can't go any lower than 1,200. That's the thing with intermittent fasting. It's just intermittent fasting will work until it doesn't, right? Like if you're used to eating a lot of food and then you start intermittent fasting, then you're going to see changes right off the bat. But then once you plateau, then you're in that situation where you're only eating 1,200 and now you're maintaining. So no, I would never. Some situations I'll go lower than that, but you'd have to drop calories by 500, which if you're eating 12, that's going to put you at 700. And it's just not enough food. Like you can't get enough healthy foods at that amount of calories. So to answer your question, if you are at 1,200 and that's where you're maintaining, there's nothing else to do but reverse diet. And that is slowly adding in food over a period of time to get your maintenance calories from 1,200 to 1,700 or 1,800. And then once you get there, then you can start back and taking food away and start trying to lose that weight. But you're not going to do that if you're already at 1,200 and that's where your maintenance is.
Got it. Yeah. And she's asking, what's a good book or resource to learn more? I mean, what is your favorite?
Question. Honestly, like I've learned this just over the last 11 years of coaching. There is a few books that I can recommend, but I'd have to send those to you. I don't have them off the top of my head.
Okay.
But you can always just just Google reverse dieting, and then you'll see a lot of information for free, just from people that have wrote blogs and things like that. So I would just Google reverse dieting information, and then you'll be able to find that stuff out.
Perfect. And real quick, give me your Instagram handle. I realized I didn't have it.
Oh yeah. Mine it's the flexible.dieting.coach. So the flexible.dieting.coach. There's a lot of people that do the flexible dieting. So yeah, make sure to put the dots.
So people can see, right? People can see. I can't see it for some reason, but they can probably see it if they want to follow you and learn more. And then, so my last question, just when you say whole foods, so you said, you can do this 80-20 whole foods versus, I think you call it fun foods. What do you mean by whole foods?
Yeah, whole foods, just whole foods. So I mean, any type of protein. If it's chicken, turkey, beef, salmon. I try to limit beef to maybe a few days a week, but yeah, just eating whole foods, as in whole nutritious foods. Rice, beans, quinoa, of course, veggies, potatoes. I mean, just anything that's just
so basically not processed,
not processed foods. That's what I'm saying. So yeah, I'll do 80% whole foods, which are non-processed, and then I'll do 20% fun foods, and that again could be anything from desserts to pretzels with hummus, pretzels with chocolate, all the desserts, any of that good stuff. As long as you're fitting that into your caloric intake for the day, it's not going to hinder your weight loss if you're eating some chocolate every single night.
Love it.
Yeah.
Well, Erik, thank you, man. This has been very informative. I really appreciate all the info. Every time I have a nutritional expert on here, I always learn a little bit more. And I definitely did today. So thank you, my man.
Yeah, you got it, man. I appreciate you having me on for sure.
Yeah, and we'll keep in touch. And so we'll cut these videos up. We'll have little snippets that we'll add to our page. We'll tag you and, go on our podcast. And thank you for helping the world build some positive momentum.
Yes, sir. That's the goal, man. That's the goal. We're all in that same goal, to just try to inspire people and teach people to live a normal life and enjoy life. And man, thank you again for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Yep. Right on, brother. We'll talk soon.
Talk to you soon.
Okay. Thanks.
That's it for today's episode of the 5 Core Life podcast with Will Moore, founder of More Momentum. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you have not already, please make sure to subscribe and follow the podcast wherever you are listening or watching. This so that you get notified when new episodes air every week. And if you've not joined the 5 Core Life Facebook group, I encourage you to join that and see what all of the fuss is about. There's some awesome content designed to get your momentum going, including a monthly giveaway to win a complimentary coaching call with the Will Moore. The Facebook group is currently the only place to get Will's dedicated attention on your 5 core journey. If you're feeling stuck or just want someone to cheer you on, then that is the place you need to be. There's nothing like a community of people on the same journey to get you fired up, kicking butt, and taking names. So come join us.
Get moving. Gain momentum. Join the movement. Join Emmett by going to moremomentum.com to take a free life evaluator quiz on where you currently stand in each of your 5 cores.